n'avez pas entendu parler du Facteur?
Les nouvelles du Facteur.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They're MAGA Republicans. Extreme MAGA Republicans. MAGA Republicans, extreme MAGA ideology. MAGA Republicans. MAGA Republicans. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail. MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair.
The White House insists the address was not political, and critics are blasting the president over the tone, calling it dark and divisive. And it wasn't just the words, some noting the blood-red backdrop and the optics of having two Marines flanking the president. Republicans have been tearing into Biden's speech.
The strange and wildly inappropriate setting, the unusual, weird red lighting, most worrisome having Marines standing behind him in which he's engaging in political attacks on 74 million Americans.
An assault on the soul of America.
A political speech, it was a divisive speech, and that's not presidential.
A very cynical attempt to fill our heads with stupid.
He always has a way with words. And some in the media, though, are praising Biden's address.
That speech was exactly why President Biden ran for president in the first place.
They finally got it right. You know, literally stay single-minded right now. Biden laid out the Democratic platform into the midterms and into 2024.
It's an important speech. Remember, Lincoln gave a speech in 1860, and what happens? We have the Civil War. We have folks who reject the basic premise.
What was more pro-USA than this speech? And I think this is exactly what what Democratic voters wanted to hear.
So Biden has been trying to clarify the controversy over his remarks.
Mr. President, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country?
Yo, everyone, come on.
Mr. Trying to make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporter to be a threat to the country. I do think anyone who calls for the use of violence insists upon changing the way in which the rules you count votes. That is a threat to democracy.
So, Greg, I want to come to you first about this. Obviously, the president was trying to thread the needle here to make sure that we were differentiating between MAGA Republicans and the bulk of the Republican.
Obviously, really.
Well, he said it like 50 times.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He did.
Because you couldn't.
Play a montage.
Oh, no, yes. That's not proving your point, though. What he did was he took an amorphous group of people in which he cannot name, decides that it's a huge threat, and then changes his mind and says it's a small threat. And then he says, but it's still a threat, so come join me. And if you don't join me, you're a Nazi. The first thing you got to understand about this is you got to have fun with this. This is hilarious. You can't be like the media and you can't be like the Democrats when every time Donald Trump spoke or was at a rally or the inauguration, their hair was on fire, right? And Trump supporters would be attacked. This is what the media wants you to do right now. This is what Joe Biden wants you to do right now. They're trying to goad you into an emotional state for violence. That's what they actually want. This was one of the funniest. This looked like it was put on by South Park. Joe tried, he's Darth Vader in Depends. They tried to project some kind of darkness on the Republican Party, but it actually projected backwards, right? It looks like a dystopian movie trailer in which the dead president is being played by a hologram. The whole vibe was hilariously creepy. You can't get mad at this, but you have to compare it to what's going on around in the world. China and Russia are launching joint war games, and Joe is launching a war on us, right? And if MAGA Republicans are the biggest threat to our country, maybe we shouldn't be sending $50 billion, $70 billion to Ukraine to fight Russia. Maybe you should be carpet bombing churches and country clubs and golf courses and fraternities, because that's probably where the MAGA Republicans are. I mean, imagine if this speech was about, if you took MAGA out of it and you put China or you put Russia it would have been an amazing foreign policy wartime speech. He would have galvanized people to fight, the greatest enemy. And then you realize, no, wait, he's talking about Americans that he claims he can mind read, but he cannot identify. He cannot decide if it's large or small, but you better join him or you're a threat to democracy. We're all Americans, he says, except you and you and you and you. You've got to laugh at this. Probably one of the funniest presidential moments in history.
I would like to agree with Greg and say that this was a joke, but I can't make a joke out of this. This is a man who's dividing his nation and galvanizing people on the left to hate people on the right. It was divisive. It was ominous. There was a blood red background. He stood in darkness claiming that he stands for light with military behind him. He demonized half of Americans, and I don't care what he says today. He said yesterday, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, that 74 million of Americans that he's supposed to be representing, threaten their very way of life. Baloney. You don't have a right to say that, Mr. President. You took an oath to represent all of us. And just because people have a different opinion about right to life, abortion, law and order, a secure border. You can't just say you're disgusting, you're semi-fascist, and ergo I'm gonna. You don't represent what's great about America. You compare us to the likes of Hitler and Mussolini, and then you try to gin up the Americans to say that we are less than human and deserving of the same result ultimately that they are. What makes Joe Biden think he speaks for the soul of America? What makes him think in the middle of this political diatribe that he speaks for the rule of law or the Constitution alone? Hillary Clinton said Donald Trump was an illegitimate president put in by the Russians. Stacey Abrams said that election was stolen from her.
Hey, leave my governor alone now.
Yeah, okay. but what we've got is, look, politics is one thing. I get it. I ran for office 5 times. People call me names. I probably call them names. So it goes. But you don't demonize hardworking Americans who simply want to survive and want to hear about inflation, gas prices, and crime. They don't want to hear about this nonsense if he's drawing a line saying, we're good and you are bad.
Vous n'avez pas entendu parler du Facteur?
Les nouvelles du Facteur